Well, Jessica, thanks so much for joining us. This session is going to be about what you're seeing in the field of leadership development, recruitment, culture, just all those important foundational things, not necessarily about the technology or techniques of C-stores. So glad that you could join us today.
Glad I could be here this morning.
So one of the reasons we asked you to come to this interview was we liked your approach for organizing your training, and you were so careful. You were so the culture was important, and the personality and the approach was important, more so than the content. Even I mean, it was both important, but I was amazed at the approach that you took and the emphasis that you placed. And was really impressed by that. Could you tell me a little bit about what you think these keys are and what you focus on when you're working on leadership? Because I know you guys have been doing a lot of leadership development and management development at your company.
Oh, yeah, we do quite a bit of employee feedback surveys. So every time we do, whether it be we send in team members to conferences or trade shows or any training within the industry, we always ask them to come back with feedback. First, we ask them before they're going, what is it that you're looking for? What are you hoping to gain out of it? And then when they come back, we ask for them to bring back their takeaways. And then if it's an org-wide event, we always do a survey because our goal is we want to hear from them. What is it that you want? And so typically our employees are telling us what they're hungry for, which helps us go out into the industry and find out what we need, what we can find, such as Vandy Works, what type of things are out there that we could offer to our team members to help them on their growth journey.
It seems so simple when you say it like that, right? You're just asking what they want, right? And we kind of do the same thing with our product development. I love that. Um,
Yeah.
Two-part question here, either or both. The part that you said you ask them before they go, kind of like what they're looking for, and you ask them when they come back. Do you think that that prep makes a difference? Number one.
100%, 100%, because uh, we were sending people to shows and uh, industry related conferences, and they didn't even know what they were going for. So it kind of requires them to do some research so they know. And then we're able to help when they tell us what they're looking for. We're able to say, hey, we would hope that you would get this out of there, out of, attending. Besides of having a great time, we'd like for you to come back with some useful stuff. So yes, the prep work before is probably the most important part, right? What are you going for? What are you hungry for? What knowledge do you hope to gain? And then at the same time, if everybody comes back with nothing, then we know for future,
Mhm.
why are we spending our money to send people if they're not coming back with anything?
Awesome. All right. So it sounds like it's both. The setup in the beginning is crucial, but then the follow-up afterwards, that what we call it follow-up, tracking and follow-up,
What
right?
are you going to do? What are you going
Yeah.
to do with what you just gained? How are you going to put it to action? If sometimes they might come with a great product, it might not be in their job description they may not be our buyer, right? So they can't go out and buy a
Mm.
new piece of equipment or a new product, but we can at least teach them how, their next steps. Like, hey, great idea. What do we do now? So we
Okay.
can help them put it into action.
So you're not even discouraging them if they learn something that's completely out of bounds and it might be something that someone else has already looked at. You still are encouraging them to bring these ideas. Oh, okay.
And teaching them like how do you create a presentation, right? Because you're going to have a lot of losses before you have a win. So it also helps prep them for creating a presentation and being able to willing to accept a bunch of no's sometimes.
All right. Well, you're taking me in a different direction there. Um, I love that. So, because I think sometimes I think my best skill as a business person is just all the mistakes that I've made over the last 40 years. And
Right.
um, so let's get into culture then a little bit because and I want to circle back to the first question. I got a better answer than I was looking for, but I think it's related to this one. You do a lot of prep to make sure that the anything that happens is doing it the Lassus methodology culture. I don't know if I'm using the right word,
Mhm.
is one part of it. And then that attitude about expecting failure. I probably didn't say that the right way. How do
Yeah,
those two fit together?
we don't ever want them to go into something expecting it to fail, but we want them to be willing to walk it, be comfortable with walking something all the way through every detail, and being able to present it, but being okay with uh, it may be not, it could be a great idea, wrong time. You may never get the answer. Sometimes you don't get the answer. Don't be discouraged by that. Don't quit. Because a lot of times that's when people like, oh, it didn't work, so I'm done. Never going to try that again. And it's like, we want you to keep on trying. Just because the door closes, there's so many more opportunities and things out there. So don't give up. Keep on pushing it through. With our culture, we believe that buy-in is um, probably the biggest hurdle to overcome. So if we keep on telling our team members what we want instead of listening to what they need and want from us, we're working harder than we need to. So if we can send them to shows or, industry related training, um, they get to tell us the ideas. They'll have more buy-in when they believe that they're the one that created this concept or came back with a great winning idea. So our leadership team does a great job at leaving room for others to succeed and take the credit, and they're willing to do the work when they know that we loved one of their ideas.
How do you instill that? How do you instill that buy-in? How do you instill that risk taking? I exaggerated the failure, I think. What I hear you
Mhm.
say is we want your ideas. We want you to participate. We want you to, and then you're going to realize you're not going to get everything you want, I think, is what a better interpretation. I'm trying to
We
zoom in a little bit.
we announce it. Like when we do our surveys, our employee feedback surveys, we share those details, and then if there's been ideas that were shared, like we always in our feedback surveys, we always ask for suggestions because anybody can talk about what they don't like, but give us an idea. How can we make it better? So we make that part of we put it we have a internal page that we will share the results with. And then we also intentionally, through all of our strategic planning, we sit down as teams and we say, how are we going to make these numbers better? How are we going to improve our employee feedback survey, the results? And we tell them what our initiatives are for the up and coming year, what we are intentionally doing. And then again, I'm going to use Bandy Works as an example. They wanted more training. They wanted more in-depth training. So they knew that you guys were coming in, that we were looking for platforms that uh, could, provide better training or coaching and out of the box thinking and ideas. So we share with them what our initiatives will be.
So risk taking, buy-in, and then it sounds like two-way communication is a big part. I guess that's the trust. I mean, okay. Well, you took me in a different direction. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling here. Um, so I thought you were going to tell me that you have a very explicit culture. You you focus on that through actions and things like that, and you explicitly share that with everybody that's involved. But I didn't hear you say that. I heard you say we just are open to ideas and we want them to drive. You're facilitating
Mhm,
the strategy and the buy-in.
mhm. We are. I mean, we have our core values that they're everywhere. We talk about them. We may not go around saying, hey, core values, but growth, family, quality. We do a lot of Lassus Leadership Summit every year. It's
Mm,
typically a one-word focus for the year.
okay.
So I'm going to give you just a uh, I'll just tell you what our up and coming year for 2026. It's level up because we've had quality, we've had uh family, like we went through every one of our core values and we've provided some training and a lot of coaching to our team members. So this year our word is level up. It's like you've been given the tools, so now it's that accountability. How are you going to put those into action? So, but I did want to talk about part of our employee survey is if we have a family fun day and we always go to the zoo and we're wondering why only 20% of our team members are coming. Well, tell us what you want to do. It's only going to be a family fun day if we know what you want to do. So we've gotten
Mm.
some ideas. Uh, we were going to a park for the longest time and having like carnival games, and they were like, try something different. We're tired of that. So we heard them, and this year we are going to the zoo for our family fun day. So when I talk about the culture, I guess in those employee feedback surveys, it's hitting on each one of our core values. So our questions are geared like, are we making the mark? Are we living up to our mission and core values? And if we're not, we want to know how are we not meeting those marks to our in our team members' eyes? So culture is huge. We don't, I guess it's so natural to me that I don't reference the words culture, but it's our
Right.
actions. It's what we do every day.
Well, that is the
As
culture, isn't it?
Yeah, we're intentional. I mean, it's
Yeah. What you do is the
they
culture.
come
You
in
have your
and say, how can
stated
I make my
aspirational culture and you have your real culture. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
And I think for you all, you're pretty aligned between your dreams and what you do. I mean, you're very consistent. One of
We
the
haven't
things
always
I've
been there.
noticed is that what I really like, because I'm a pretty blunt person. Um, it's a very caring. It's that radical candor, right? It's very caring and very direct.
Mhm.
And yeah, I
It
like that.
definitely it's taken years for us to get here. I mean, I've been with the company this time around for 27 years and we've grown. We used to say family. We had a mission statement that half of us didn't even know.
Mm,
So it literally took leadership to pour into defining what that meant. And you can have core values, but if you don't know what your actions are in your core values, they're just a bunch of words on paper. So we had to decide how we were going to live
mm.
those action items to be able to represent our core values.
I have a different consultant that said the same thing about slightly different presentation. If you learn something, if you say you learned something and you don't do it, you haven't learned anything. Learning is only when you put it into action. So, huh.
Right.
All right, I'm going to move towards the close here. So when you're looking for people, because C-store, even when you have great retention in a C-store, you still have turnover, and every business does. When you're looking out for your growth or just natural attrition that happens, how do you identify? Do you do you start with cashiers or do you look outside? What's your career path look like at Lassus?
Well, we pride ourselves on always looking within our current team first. We don't ever post anything externally. So we always hire from within first. And then if we can't find a qualified candidate by the requirements, we might post outside of the company. But we first ask ourselves, you might have a great candidate, but maybe they're missing one certification. Um, so we would ask ourselves if we poured into them a little bit financially to make sure that they got that certification, would they be the perfect team? Because we much rather work with somebody we know than bring somebody from outside in and potentially have a bunch of unknowns that you can't see within an interview. So we love the fact that we hire from within. It means a lot to our team members to know that they're going to have first choice at growth opportunities. Every time we put a job posting out, we have a little insert in there that says if this isn't the job for you, make sure you let your leadership staff know that you're interested in growth. And so then all of our managers know if somebody's reached out to them, part of their job is to create a growth plan for that individual. So that way they know that they have an opportunity. It may be a 1 to 2 year plan versus more of an immediate, but they at least have clarity of what it's going to take. Or maybe somebody doesn't meet the qualifications because they've had a performance concern. That team member is told at that time, once you master this skill, you'll be able to apply for, advancement opportunities. Um, I'm not sure if that really answers the question,
Yeah,
Tom, that you're
thanks.
looking for.
Absolutely. But I have a couple follow-ups. So I was saying, how do you go identify them? And you have the same philosophy even with that. You ask them to volunteer. So you open the door, but you're looking for people to walk through.
Yeah, we
Huh.
want hungry people. I always tell them you need to be your own advocate. If you want to grow, let it be known. Don't wait for a job posting because we're interviewing every single day. So your performance, I'm watching it today, not when
Yeah.
that job posting goes out. So if you're hungry for leadership opportunity, show up every single day
Sure.
like you're hungry for it. Um, that message is a little bit harder, I'm not in the stores every single day. But anytime I have an opportunity to talk to somebody about advancement, I say, well, make sure you're showing up every day. It's kind of
Mhm.
that old thing, you dress to impress, you know, you're applying for a job, so you should dress for the job that you're applying for. That's how I look at it. Show up every day. Everybody says they want Stephanie's position or my position, or they want to be vice president. It's like, then dress for the position today. Show up today for that. But we also, depending on what positions we're looking to hire for, or that we might have a gap in the organization, we use a lot of tools for like personality assessments because we want to make sure we have a well-rounded team. And then even if it's not the final factor, but we're more aware if we're a little lopsided because we know that we need to be intentional with some of the decisions that we make that we may not have all the spokes covered, you know?
Yeah, it's not necessarily that you find the perfect candidate. You know who the candidate is, and you decide how, as part of the plan, how to work through it.
Mhm.
I love it.
Correct.
All right, one more follow-up then. What I really liked next, after this person has identified themselves, is you said make a plan. You all make plans. So the store managers are responsible for developing plans for, like, say, a cashier, how they're going to become a shift lead or assistant manager.
Mhm.
Huh. And
Correct.
that
So
is it
store
written down?
managers are responsible to fill their bench far as what we call in-store trainers, shift leaders, assistant managers, and then our supervisors, or in some organizations, they're known as DMs.
Hmm.
If we need manager in training, if we need district coordinators, or we have float CSRs, then that responsibility falls on the district supervisors, and then obviously me as the director of operations. If I'm looking at filling the bench for supervisors, my team meets monthly. We already have identified. We have every single team member that has either put in a letter of interest. We have them on our growth plan, and we have it mapped out of what we're doing for those individuals. What's their next step?
So
Anybody
you're
that has put in
you're
a
following that tracking sheet monthly.
monthly
Wow.
with my leadership team, correct?
All right, so
Yep.
it
So
is written
if
down at
somebody
least.
who's going from a CSR to an in-store trainer, if they've already submitted their letter of interest, we know the date that they submitted it because then we monitor how long that person has been sitting there waiting and what are we doing about it.
Mm.
Because
And
I'm happy, a lot of times turnover happens, right? Somebody's interested in growth opportunity, we're not moving fast enough. They're going to go find another organization that they can grow with. So we're very mindful about how long that person sits there in waiting.
yeah, there's a new survey that I just read 2 days ago that said exactly that. Of course, the boss is the biggest reason people leave, but the next reason is if there's not that career path, people need to know that you've got that in place. So I just want to follow up. The store manager, it's actually written, there's a document that has steps that the cashier can look at,
Yep.
and it's
Yep.
checked off. How
Yeah.
often does the store manager check with the cashier that's going through this development process?
Well, it's already going to be a plan that in place. So it might have like 2 weeks we might have time frames set in place. So in 2 weeks, they're going to check in and see if they have a qualifying customer service shop. Is there attendance? But that position's within 90 days. So that
Mm,
one's a quicker turnaround time where they
okay.
should be able to be certified. Or it might be something that if it's a customer service shop that they didn't pass, Those are only done quarterly, but they're aware that, hey, you're looking at 4 months before you're able to um, move on to the next step. But it's very clear to them what their next step would be.
Awesome. All right. Two more questions. What characteristics would you see where you that once somebody walks through the door, you're going to say, what do you like to see? What are the characteristics so that your cashiers are out there watching this video right now? How do they know if they're qualified or not? Or what behaviors do you want them to be focused on, attitudes, etc.?
Um, they have to be willing. If I was looking at somebody, I'm able to already not coming off the street, but if I'm walking to a store and I'm interacting with my team members, I'm looking for the friendliness with our customers, a great customer interaction is the first thing that I look for because if you can't serve our customers well, that means you're not going to serve your as a leader, you're not going to treat your team members well. So if you can treat the stranger well, hopefully you can treat somebody that you work with daily even better. So that's the first thing I look for is how well do you handle those customers and those interactions. And then pretty much the second thing I look for is it's a basic. Let's have a basic conversation. Let's just talk. Let's not even talk about work. How's life? What's going on? Um, and if they're able to carry on a decent conversation about, they're able to stay positive in their thought processes, that means a lot to me because the world's full of, woes. But I want somebody who's positive, who has a positive outlook. And even if they're having a tough time, they're still able to find that one little nugget of positivity and share it. The other thing too is I look at their ability to multitask. It's a busy industry. And once you add leadership of any kind to it, it just like doubles your work. So I do look to see how well are they able to interact with the customer and address like a cleanliness within the store or a safety concern. So I just sit back and watch and see how they handle the big picture, customers and store task.
Let me see if I can summarize this. Let's see if I got this right. So you want somebody that's friendly, positive, well spoken, maybe outgoing, maybe not, but at least well spoken, a good communicator, aware, good at prioritizing and time management.
Correct. You hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what I was saying.
Uh, oh, that's what I try to teach at our workshop. So I always test myself, but thank you, because that was a long list. Excellent, excellent criteria. So those of you that want to move up, this is the person that helps do that. So there's your roadmap. Thank you for that. One last thing I always ask, but I'm going to twist it a little bit today. So for that cashier that wants a job like yours, why do they want it? What should they really think about if they want it? And they got to go through the steps. But if they're thinking about their career, they're 22 years old and they want to be there when they're 30 or 35 or whatever, what would you ask them to ask themselves?
Hmm. Hmm. That's a tough one. Well, the first thing I would say is for myself is, do you love people? Are you willing to walk beside people? And are you able to lead from behind? A lot of times I see people who uh, you just have to be willing to coach and lift people up. And if you don't have the mental capacity to lift people up and, really be committed to growth, not just your own, but willing to pour into other people, this probably is not the position for you. But you really have to love being able to celebrate others' successes and really put in the work to help people achieve their goals. So you definitely can't be selfish. You have to be a selfless person to care for 300 to 400 people. So.
So I want to just follow up on one point because we always hear leading from the front, which I think means you got to be able to do what you ask other people to do. You got to be willing to do. You said lead from behind. Is that more about the humility or the not letting your ego drive it? Well, I'm putting words in your mouth. Will you explain that a little bit more? When you say, because I know lead from the front has a very positive connotation about being willing to do it. What I think you have a very positive connotation. You said lead from behind and you called that coaching. Will you explain that a little bit more?
Uh, Sometimes um, people might lead with, well, this is what I did. Well, just because what I did 25 years ago doesn't mean that's a winning idea today, right? It might have been a great concept 25 years ago. So when you're leading from behind, that means you're willing to me, it means that you're willing to, just because that's what you've done, doesn't mean that's what has to continue to be. So leading from behind means leaving room for other people to have, a voice. If I'm always the one speaking, which
Hmm.
is ironic, but if I'm always the one speaking, am I leaving room for others to feel comfortable because they may not feel like they live up to my expectations? So I'm going to stand in the background, or when I say from behind, I'm going to be in the back of the room because I want my team members to feel comfortable and have space to grow and to have their own failures. If I'm always saying, oh, we did that, that didn't work, I literally have just quieted the room. So I'm going to stand in the back. I'm going to lead from the back, and I'm going to let them travel their growth journey and learn from their own mistakes, learn from their trials and tribulations. Let them have their failures and celebrate their wins out loud. That's what I'll do. So to me, as a leader, the best place for me to be is in the back, from in the, going to lead from behind them all, pushing them all the way through to the top.
Jessica, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. Thank you.